live from the new sports betting capital of the world.
You might be from Texas, but I'm from New Jersey.
Benny Ricciardi is here to break down the day's betting board for you.
Let's go, Jerry. Go!
Taking a first look at the day's bets, it's time for the FTN Betting Show. Welcome to the FTN Bets Cast for Tuesday, April 5th, I think? April 5th. Pretty good national championship game last night for all those East Coast dads who went to sleep early. Congratulations to North Carolina for finish. Oh, no, wait, that's not what happened. That's right. So if you stayed up and you watched the game, Carolina blew a 15-point halftime lead. They were up 40-25, came back, blew that game, wound up losing by 3. So in Carolina's defense, they did cover. You know what they say, good teams win, great teams cover. Carolina did cover in that game. Really strange out-of-bounds play for Kansas with like 4 seconds left. All they had to do was throw the ball inbounds to somebody on their team. They would have got fouled. They would have had a chance to make 2 free throws, cover that -4.5 that most people got that game at. But inexplicably, boneheaded play gave Carolina a chance to hit a 3 at the end of the game after stepping out of bounds. Carolina missed that shot. Kansas wins the national championship. College basketball, hell of a season. It's over. We'll be back next year. We do have a lot of NBA action tonight, though. The NBA took off on Monday to give college basketball their chance to shine. And now we have, I think, a dozen games that we're going to talk about here. So let's start talking about the NBA and everything there. As you guys know, we got about a week left in the NBA season. Play-in games will be taking place a week from today. There will be playoff games going on in the NBA. So most teams are down to 3 or 4 games that they have remaining here. There is still a lot of jostling of positions in the playoffs, although for the most part, there's really only about 1 or 2 teams still on the bubble that have a chance, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So let's talk about the first game up. The first game up, Philadelphia 76ers, Indiana Pacers. Let's see here. Miles Turner is out for Indiana. Malcolm Brogdon and Goga Bitadze listed as questionable here. 234 is the biggest number out there. If you want to play an under, you can get that on FanDuel. 233.5 at BetMGM, PointsBet, Caesars, if you want to play the over there. Those are all listed at -110. Indiana out of the playoffs already. Philadelphia currently tied for 3rd with Milwaukee. They are 2.5 games back of Miami in 1st. They are half a game behind Boston in 2nd. So still a lot of jostling around to go there with the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th seed in the East. Philadelphia is an 11.5-point favorite in this game. You can get that on almost every site at -110 here. If you want to play the Indiana side, the only place where it's not, -11.5, -110 on Philly is over on PointsBet. So you could actually play Indiana on PointsBet plus 11.5 at -105. Get a little bit of reduced juice over there. Like I said, Philly has something to play for. Indiana really doesn't. They got some injuries. We don't know if Brogdon or Bitadze is going to play. Without Turner in there, those are guys that would be on the floor. So we'll see what happens. Philly should win this game. Do I want to lay 11.5 points? I mean, probably not with them on the road, but I wouldn't be shocked if they did cover that. Next one up, the Cleveland Cavaliers against the Orlando Magic here. Cleveland is currently the number 7 team in the East. They are 2.5 games behind Toronto and Chicago. They are 1.5 games ahead of the Atlanta Hawks, and I think they have 3 games left to go here. So they are in a pretty good spot. They got a good matchup here against Orlando. Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. Well, Evan Mobley's out. Jared Allen is questionable. We'll see if he's out or not. On the Orlando side, Wendell Carter's out. Suggs, Wagner, and Anthony are all listed as questionable. If those 3 guys don't play, this would make this a very good game for Cleveland to be there. And you know what? I think there's a chance that at least 1 or 2 of them sit, because this is one of those games where we actually have a wide spread on what the total should be. You could play an over in this game as low as 215.5 on DraftKings at -110. You could play an under in this game as high as 218 on FanDuel. There are about 5 or 6 other sites that have this at either 216.5 or 217.5 in there. So that's a pretty wide spread that you have on the total in this game. And usually when you have a spread that wide, it normally has something to do with injuries, especially this early in the day. If one guy plays, one site might have somebody, in, the other site might have them more likely to be out. And that's what changes it. And that's why we see like that 2 or 3 point difference between those two. I mean, do you want to play both sides and play a middle? There's guys that will do that. There's guys that'll play the arbitrage there, but To be honest with you, if you like the over, play it on DraftKings. If you like the under, play it on FanDuel. You got about a 2.5 point spread between those two, which is pretty big. We normally don't see more than like a 1 or 1.5 point spread in any game. So when you have a spread like that between an over and an under, definitely take the side that you like in that one. Let's see here. We talked about Cleveland, Orlando being out of the playoffs. The number on this game, Cleveland is on the road. They are 8.5 point road favorites. You can get them as cheap as -8 on FanDuel. That's the best price on that side. If you want to play the Orlando Magic, they are plus 8.5, pretty much plus 8.5, -110 most places. DraftKings has them plus 8.5, -105. So that's the best price on that. Next game up, the Houston Rockets and the Brooklyn Nets. Let's see here. Brooklyn tied for 9th place currently with Charlotte. They are 1 game back of Atlanta to move up to 8th. They are 2.5 behind Cleveland. So technically they are still alive to move up to 7th there. But they are in the playoffs. They have locked up their playoff spot, so they don't have to worry about that. Goran Dragic listed as out. Seth Curry listed as questionable. For Houston, there's going to be no Christian Wood, no Dennis Schroeder. This is one of the highest totals on the board today. You can play an over at 243.5. Sugar House, Unibet, Bet Rivers, the best places to play those, all at -110. Or you can play an under at 244.5 if you want. Go over to FanDuel and Caesars. That's where you can get this 244.5 on that one. The Brooklyn Nets are a monstrous, what is it at now? 17.5 in some places as well. If you want to play the Nets, 17 points, DraftKings, FanDuel, Caesars, you can play the -17 on any of those. If you want to play the Rockets, you can get that plus 17.5, -110 on BetMGM, PointsBet, Unibet, Bet Rivers, and Sugar House. So a lot of difference there. 17 is a ton of points. I'm staying away from this game. Next one up is an interesting one. The Charlotte Hornets taking on the Miami Heat. Miami has Kyle Lowry questionable. PJ Tucker, Gabe Vincent, Dwayne Dedman, and Martin are all listed as questionable as well. Miami's number 1. They are 2 games up on Boston, 2.5 ahead of Philly and Milwaukee. They have 3 games to go. So really 1 or 2 more wins for Miami will solidify them being the number 1 seed overall. This is actually one of the tougher games they have remaining. Over in this game, 224, PointsBet, Caesars, Unibet. You can play that there at -110. Under, best price, DraftKings, -105 here. Charlotte is also a team tied for 9th right now, 1 game back of Atlanta. Again, tied with the Brooklyn Nets, who we just talked about here. So they still could move up or down in the standings, depending on how these last couple games go. So I think they're going to come out and really be looking for a win today. You know, I don't like betting against Miami, given that Miami is one of the best teams in the league, but this number is 5.5 everywhere. You can get it at DraftKings. If you want to be on the Charlotte side, you could actually get plus 5.5, -105 on DraftKings, -110 to -112 on the other sites. Miami Heat, -5.5. You can get the -110 on them basically everywhere but DraftKings. So if you want to play Miami anywhere but DraftKings, you can get -5.5, -110. DraftKings still has it -5.5 too, but they're the one place it's juiced up to -115. So the Hornets play on DraftKings, -105 at 5.5. Everywhere, every other book is the place to play Miami, -5.5, -110. Let's see. Next game up, Atlanta Hawks, Toronto Raptors. No John Collins, Bogey, and Gallo are listed as questionable for Atlanta. On the Toronto side, OG Anunoby listed as questionable there. Atlanta is currently 8th. They are 1 game ahead of Brooklyn and Charlotte. They are 1.5 games behind Cleveland. So they could go up as high as 7th and they could drop all the way down to 10th, but they are going to make the playoffs one way or another. So that's always good there. Toronto tied for 5th with Chicago right now. They can't really get up to catch Milwaukee and Philly for, you know, the 3rd and 4th spot. So at best, they're going to wind up 5th. Like I said, they're kind of jostling back and forth with Chicago. They are 2.5 games up on Cleveland as well. So another win or another Cleveland loss, and Toronto will solidify the fact that they don't have to play in a playing game. Chicago's in that same boat right there too. And that's really what those two teams are looking for right now. Whether you finish 5th or 6th, you know, it is what it is. You're going to get a tough opponent in the first round one way or another, but at least you get a little bit of rest before you do it if you can stay above there. Let's see. What do we have here on this game? 226. You could play an over at 226. FanDuel, PointsBet, Caesars, Bet Rivers, all -110. Best prices there. You could play an under 226.5 on DraftKings and BetMGM at -110. That's the best prices on those side. Toronto is a 4-point favorite here over the visiting Atlanta Hawks. You could actually get it as cheap as 3.5 too on FanDuel, and BetMGM have this -3.5, -110. If you want to play Atlanta side of it, it's +4 on basically every other site. And you want to save a basis point or two, Unibet and Sugar House and Bet Rivers have this at -109 +4. Everybody else is at -110. So something to think about there. Not really a huge deal, but you know what? It does save you a little bit of money. Next game up, the Milwaukee Bucks taking on the Chicago Bulls. Total in this game, 230, 231, somewhere around there. Cheapest you can find an over 230.5 on FanDuel, MGM, PointsBet, or Caesars. If you want to play the under 231.5 in this game, Unibet is the only one who has it -110 at that 231.5 price. Milwaukee, as we mentioned, tied for third with the Philadelphia 76ers. They are half a game behind Boston, 2.5 games up on Miami. Pretty much locked into that 3 or 4 seed unless they completely fall apart here. But they do have a chance to move up to the 2 seed depending on what happens with Boston. On the other side of this game, Chicago, we just talked about with Toronto, same boat with them, tied for 5th. You know, really, they're either going to wind up 5th or 6th, most likely here, unless they fall apart. They got 4 games to go. They're 2.5 up on Cleveland. So another 2 wins or a win and a Cleveland loss kind of puts them locked into not having to play in the play-in game there. So that's really what they're looking for here. I don't really have a big lean in this game. I think both of these teams are looking to win this game, though. Milwaukee is a 5.5-point favorite on the road. You can get them as low as -5, juiced up a little bit, -113 currently on FanDuel. Everywhere else is -5.5 at -110. If you want to bet the Bulls side of this, same thing. Everything is 5.5 -110, but you can find them -109 on Unibet. So if you want to save a little bit, that's the place to go. Next game, one that I don't expect to be too competitive, the Washington Wizards and the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Wizards are out of it. They have no Kyle Kuzma today. Minnesota is currently in 7th. So they, at the very least, I think they finished 7th. They cannot be caught for 7th, but they can still move up. They are 1.5 behind Utah. They are 2 games behind Denver. I think they have 3 or 4 to go here. So they basically have to win out and hope that, 1 or 2 of those other teams get a couple losses here if they want to get into the play-in game. Otherwise, they're going to finish up as the 7th seed. They can't go any lower than that. One thing I will say about Washington, and it's not up yet, but keep an eye on Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I like his over on points here today. If you can get it at like 17.5, I think it's great. If it's 18.5, I don't mind it -110. I wouldn't go above -110 on the 18.5 for his points. But he's been the guy who's really picked up his scoring lately since Kyle Kuzma has gone out. I know everybody expected it to be Kristaps Porzingis, but they're still not playing him huge minutes. And KCP is really the guy that's starting to fire up some shots. Even last game, he only had 15 points last game. He did not play well. He shot 7 for 17. The thing I want everybody to realize, though, is 17 shots. Like, that's a lot of shots. So, this is a guy that if he's going to take 17 shots and have a projection again of 17.5, even though it didn't work out last game, I'm going to take the over. We already cashed on him, 2 or 3 times already. He's averaging well over 20 points in the last 5 games without Kuzma. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope over 18.5 points at -110 or better. Definitely something I'm going to be interested in this game. I mean, I don't have much to say about this game. Minnesota is favored by like 12 points or so, anywhere between 11.5 to 12.5. You can get it at -11.5 on Bet Rivers, on Sugar House, and on Unibet. That's the best place to play Minnesota. If you want to play the Washington side, +12.5, -110 on DraftKings, on PointsBet, and on BetMGM. That would be the place to play Washington. Another game I don't care too much about, the Portland Trailblazers taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Just a laundry list of injuries on both sides of this game. I'm not even going to mention it. Both of these teams are out. Really doesn't matter here. OKC at home, favored by 3.5 points. You can get that 3.5 basically everywhere at -110. PointsBet has it at -115, which is why PointsBet is also the place you go if you want to bet the Portland Trailblazers, because +3.5 is -105. So if you're on the Blazers side, get over to PointsBet. If you're on the OKC side, DraftKings, FanDuel, Caesars, BetMGM, stick to the big books. That's where the best price is on those. That brings us to another competitive game, the San Antonio Spurs and the Denver Nuggets. The problem is San Antonio is going to be without DeJounte Murray here today. He's missed the last 2 games with an illness, listed as out already today with that same illness. So that's obviously going to be something that's going to hurt them. They're currently in 10th place. They're 2 games up on the Lakers with 4 games to go. Could be the team that knocks the Lakers out of the playoffs, but they have to get wins. They lose this game to Denver here. The Lakers get a win today, which it's not an easy task, but if the Lakers get a win today here, this could get close again. If San Antonio can win and the Lakers lose here, they pretty much all but eliminate the Los Angeles Lakers. So big game for the San Antonio Spurs. Denver, though, is not going to be a team that's going to go easy because Denver is currently sitting in 5th. They are only half a game up on the Utah Jazz. They are 2 games behind Dallas with 3 to go for a chance to move up into the number 4 seed in the West. Denver's still going to be out there playing hard. They're still going to be out there looking to win this game. The total here is 234.5, pretty much everywhere at -110. So over, under, doesn't matter where you play this one. Denver is an 8 to 8.5 point favorite here. You can get them at -8 on Sugar House of Bet Rivers right now. If you want the San Antonio side, that's +8.5, -110 on DraftKings, on BetMGM, and on Caesars. That would be the best prices you can get on those. Again, we know that Murray's going to be out here. That's a big deal for the Spurs. 8.5 does not seem like too many points. Both of these teams have something to play for. Again, if Murray was in, I would lean the Spurs side, but without him being in there, I got to go Denver in this one. So that brings us to the Memphis Grizzlies and the Utah Jazz. Memphis currently sitting in the number 2 spot in the West. They are locked into that spot. They can't move up. They can't move down. Ja Morant is out. Dillon Brooks listed as questionable. Really not a big fan of Memphis on the road here against Utah. One of the reasons is Utah does have things to play for. We just mentioned they're half a game behind Denver, so a win here and a Denver loss would put them in 5th. They are 1.5 games up on the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are likely to win here as well. So if they happen to lose that game, they'd only be half a game up on Minnesota. Utah's motivated. They want to win this game. All their guys seem healthy. This is another one, 223.5 total, over or under -110 on basically every site. I think on every site that I see here that has a listed total, it's 223.5. So you could play that one anywhere. If you want to play a side in this game, the side that I'm on here is going to be the Utah Jazz. I just think they have more to play for here. Let's see, -110, 5.5, just about everywhere. FanDuel has it down. FanDuel has it at -108. So you can get the Utah Jazz -5.5, -108 on FanDuel. That's the best price there. If you want to play the Grizzlies, anywhere but FanDuel has this at +5.5, -110. So you can play it on basically any of the other legal books. Next game we'll talk about, New Orleans Pelicans, Sacramento Kings, one of only 2 games remaining here. Not much to say here. No Sabonis, no Fox for Sacramento. The New Orleans Pelicans are 1 game up on the San Antonio Spurs with 4 games to play. So technically they are 3 games up on the Lakers with 4 to play as well. So they could still move up or down. New Orleans has been playing better lately, though. I don't expect them to fall apart here. This one is a 220, 225, I think is the total, just about everywhere. Everywhere but DraftKings. If you want to play an under, DraftKings has it 226 -110. Everywhere else is 225.5. So you could always play the over there. As for the spread in this game, New Orleans on the road, 8.5 point favorite against the Sacramento Kings, who are missing arguably their 2 best players in this one. You can get New Orleans as cheap as -8 over on FanDuel. That would be the best price there. Really the only thing to say. If you want to play Sacramento, you can get them +8.5, -110, anywhere but FanDuel here. And that brings us to the last game of the day, the Los Angeles Lakers against the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns, the number 1 team in the West, they have that locked up already. But it also looks like they have all their guys ready to play here tonight. You do not want the Lakers backdooring their way into the 10 seed, and then making a little run in the play-in game, and then having to play the Lakers in a 4-game series. I know they haven't been good this year. If they get healthy, you do still have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And again, in 7 games in a short series, those are not guys that you want to go up against. So I wouldn't be shocked if Phoenix goes out and tries to win this game, gives their guys enough playing time. Everybody seems to be ready to play. And on the other side, for the Lakers, LeBron James and Anthony Davis are listed as questionable. I would assume both of those guys play if they can, because a loss here, as we just mentioned, could basically eliminate them from the playoffs right now. So they can't mess around at this point. If those guys are going to play, they might as well try to play through this game and suck it up, because, again, they need these W's in order to even get a chance to be a spoiler in the playoffs. It's an 11.5 point spread here for Phoenix, which is why I said I think Phoenix is going to play all their guys and try to win this game. you could play that 11.5 minus 110 on basically every site. If you want to be on the Lakers side of this game, plus 12 on FanDuel, best price you can find at minus 110 there. Otherwise, on the Phoenix side, minus 11.5 everywhere else. And that wraps it up today for the NBA basketball portion. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come right back to talk a little bit of Champions League soccer here on Tuesday, April 5th on the FTN Bets Cast. Welcome back to the FTN Bets Cast here, sponsored by FTN Bets. It is Tuesday, April 5th. We talked NBA basketball this morning. The other big thing, the other big betting event going on here today is going to be Champions League soccer. And I like when we have these Champions League soccer days because the games are in the afternoon, so you can bet on the games in the afternoon, see what happens, have it work out. You win some money, and then that money is available for you to play again late at night when the NHL and the NBA games kind of start. So I'm definitely going to have some stuff down here. So I talked to some of my soccer guys, got a couple inside scoops for you guys. So let's go through them here real quick. First one here is Man City going up against Atletico Madrid. Three-way line here, Man City is minus 320. So massive favorites here, more than a 75% chance to win this game, according to the odds. Plus 450 would be the draw. Plus 900 would be for Atletico Madrid to win this game. If you're looking for a goal scorer here, Kevin De Bruyne is the guy that they told me to take a look at. Plus 175 anytime is a very good price for him. At least that's what I've been told. Like I said, soccer's not my thing, but I'll make sure I get you guys the information so you can go win some money there. Riyad Mahrez and Raheem Sterling are both in that plus 130 to plus 150 range to score a goal as well. But De Bruyne and, Man City, you could parlay Man City to win along with him to score an anytime goal. You get plus 200 on it. Not a bad payout there. A little something if you're looking for some action in the afternoon. Benfica taking on Liverpool in one of the other Champions League games here. Benfica plus 700 on the three-way line, plus 400 for the draw. Liverpool minus 255 favorites. So, the English Premier League's got 3 teams left in this 8 right here, and all 3 of them are favored today. Although Chelsea is, the smallest favorite, but we'll get to that. Liverpool, if you're looking for Liverpool goals, Mo Salah, definitely the guy you want to look at there, minus 105. There's a couple other guys there that are like plus 170, Sadio Mane and, Roberto Firmino. But, if you're going to take a goal scorer on Liverpool, I'm just going to stick with Salah. He's the guy for them. You could parlay those two together, but you barely get over plus money on it. I would rather just play Salah for a goal. That's the way that I'm going to be playing that game. Villarreal takes on Bayern Munich here. Villa plus 475, draw plus 340. Munich minus 180 there. If you're going to play a goal scorer here, Robert Lewandowski, definitely the guy you want to play. Minus 165 is his anytime goal. Not really a great number there. I would rather take the shot on him for a first goal, plus 210 for him to score the first goal in this game. I expect, Bayern Munich to win this game, probably win it like 2-0 or so. So maybe you could parlay like a 2-goal win for, Bayern along with a Lewandowski goal and get that up to, I don't know, probably about plus 400-ish would be the payout, plus 350, something like that. That would be worth taking, I think, here. So that's the way I'm looking at that game. And then the last one we'll talk about here is Chelsea taking on Real Madrid. Chelsea plus 105, plus 245 for the draw, plus 275 Real Madrid. There's really nothing I love here. I mean, if you're going to play a goal scorer like, Benzema or, Lukaku are the 2 guys that you would probably want to play. But I don't know. I just really don't want to touch either. I just really don't want to touch anything in this game. So it is what it is there. I will stay away from that one. The other games I think are a little bit easier to kind of see where the goals are likely to come from and obviously who's going to win. That's why those teams are bigger favorites there at, Man City, Liverpool, and Bayern Munich, all at, minus 180 to minus 300 or so. So, that's the way that I'm looking at it here. So there you go. There's the Champions League breakdown for the day. And that's going to wrap it up for us here at the FTN Bets Cast on FTN Bets for Tuesday, April 5th. Good luck, everybody.
Live from the new sports betting capital of the world.
You might be from Texas, but I'm from New Jersey.